Hey, EduGladiators. It is Marlena Gross-Taylor here, and I am so excited to welcome you to our EduGladiators live podcast. Of course, we're off for the chat this coming Saturday because we're going to enjoy our 4th of July weekend as a collective group. But I know some of you just can't get enough of EduGladiators. So we are back again live tonight, and we are super, super, super excited to have our friend of the podcast and of the movement, Daniel, here to talk to us about his Masterminds system. So, Daniel, tell everyone hello.
Hey, everybody. EduGladiators, so happy to be here with you today. And Marlena, thank you so much for extending the invitation. It's quite an honor and privilege to be here and talk with your community, talk with you, and hopefully offer some value for the viewers.
Absolutely. The honor is all mine. For those of you that are watching live right now, you can actually put in your questions or your thoughts in the live comment feature. And during our time together with Daniel, I will pause and ask any questions that you might have or share any thoughts that you might have. So please, if you're watching live, go ahead and make sure that you drop your comments below. If you see my eyes glance down, it's because I have all of this technology around me. So I'm trying to be 28 forever, with the iPhone, the iPad, a desktop, everything, so I can make sure that I get all of your questions and comments and give Daniel an opportunity to share his perspective on those. So make sure you put that in there live. Before we get started, though, Daniel, I've known you. We've connected through social media. We've done a couple of things together. Honored to have been on your podcast. You're a great educator, but the rest of the world may not know you. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Well, hello, world. I've been in education for about 16, 17 years. I've had the role from teacher, instructional coach, assistant principal. I've served at the district level, definitely resourcing schools to put in the AVID program, and I've served as a principal as well. So I've worn a number of hats within the education industry. About a year and a half or so, I started my own podcast. I wanted to have these conversations that were deep and authentic and explored what leadership is all about. What do people learn from their mistakes? And I did it selfishly because I knew that as I progressed through my own career, I was afraid of not being able to serve a community at a high level. And I felt just the weight of responsibility, right? You're dealing with kids, you're dealing with the future, the greatest resource that a community provides. So I wanted to accelerate my learning as quickly as possible. And I figured there was no better way to do that than by talking to people much smarter than me and with a lot of experience. So I started Better Leaders, Better Schools, and that was in September 2015, like I mentioned. And now, Marlena, as we're recording this, I think it's episode 99 releases in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And episode 100 obviously is right around the corner. So we're over 100,000 downloads. You know, a lot of people are really responding to it and enjoying it. So that's become my life's passion. Better Leaders, Better Schools, and working with leaders trying to accelerate their growth and their development.
I love that, Daniel. You know, one of the things that you have that you've always talked about with me and in all of your social media posts and your blogs is that it's important for school leaders to create a winning culture and to really focus on what's essential, what's necessary. So before we jump into masterminds, or maybe we're dipping our toe into masterminds already, but what does it take, in your opinion, for leaders to form that culture that's needed, that winning culture that's needed, so our kids can be successful?
You know, I think even using the phone as a metaphor, and I was showing it to you earlier, and my home screen now is like pretty blank. It's just a picture. Used to be filled with apps, and the metaphor that I want to tease out is that's because it was a very crowded phone, and everything was competing for my attention with all the apps I've downloaded, and they're still on the phone. I put them all in one folder, Marlena. So I've gone all crazy with this. But with all, you know, the dings and those red little bubbles and the number, like that would literally stress me out and cause anxiety. and make me even want to go to that app to just clear it, right? It doesn't make any sense, but that's the psychology of it. So when you go back to the idea of focus and creating winning cultures, I think it's all about getting clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish, the mission, vision, values that are core to your organization. But when everything is competing for your attention, things seem super urgent or important. And to be quite honest, it probably is not. And so how do you wade through all of those ideas and people and priorities competing for your attention and really focus on what is essential? So I've learned, I think, how to filter my decisions through reading a lot. I love to read, and books like Essentialism, that book taught me about the vital few. Not everything is important. It's given me one framework that I like to use for decision making, where you have some type of choice in front of you. You have 3 minimum criteria related to that choice and 3 extreme criteria related to the choice. And according to the author, if you're going to move forward with whatever opportunity that is for you, that choice has to meet all the minimum criteria and 2 of the 3 extreme criteria. So that's just one example. We're reading Deep Work with the Mastermind right now. I'd also encourage viewers to check out Procrastination on Purpose by Rory Vaden. And so there's a number of different places, right? You can grow your own professional library to help you focus on that essential, which in turn helps you build a winning culture, because you're just so clear on what is extremely important. Everything is not, but it feels like it. And again, using that metaphor of the phone, it's competing for your attention. How do you clear it out so that you can focus on what you need to get done?
I love that, Daniel. And I will show you my phone. I have like
Let me
a
see it.
Look
Yes.
at this. I have
No,
like
those red dots, Marlena. No.
look at all look, and I won't even show you. I have like more screens. I won't even show you how many emails I have because I just won't do it. And you're right. Like, it doesn't bother me though. It doesn't bother me to have all those emails because I get to it. I get to what I can get to and prioritize. But I know a lot of people, a lot of leaders, especially when I say leaders, I'm not talking about just principals or assistant principals or district office leaders, teacher leaders.
Mm-hmm.
They're struggling with probably one of the main things is balancing things for their attention and balancing the emails. So before we dive into Masterminds, I would just love to hear like your quick tips on how do we balance just the email load alone with that.
Well, let me start off with something shocking. And, I'd love to see the viewer response to this. And going back to what you said at the beginning as well, listen, if live people, you guys have questions and answer, we want this show to be exactly for you. So please put whatever questions you have in there. We'll address that and make that the priority. But in terms of email, I encourage people to check it barely at all, if at all, to tell you the truth. So that's my shot. Yes, absolutely. Because I challenge you to do this. I bet. Go ahead and try to not check it for a few days, see what happens. I bet the world doesn't stop. I bet you don't even really miss out on anything that's really critical. Because if it is that important, we're going to be talking about that in staff meetings or during the department meeting or whatever. So it's kind of a crazy idea, but the bigger picture is check it a lot less. What I really encourage people to do, if you want to be smart about it, and what I do, I schedule the time that I go in and check email. So it's really easy to check it throughout the day, whether that's on your phone or if you're on your computer, right? So I encourage viewers, do not have it always open. Keep it closed. And one thing that I work through with clients on this productivity course that I have is scheduling something called the Ideal Week. And so that's literally what it sounds like. Monday through Sunday, it's 15-minute blocks of time, and then scheduling out what are your priorities for the day. You can even categorize every single day as well. If you want to be in classrooms, if one's more of an administrative day, running the building, that kind of thing operationally. So that's all there for you. But I guess in terms of email, that kind of thing, all right, we probably can't get away with not checking it all the time. So I would say know yourself. When are you most productive? So for me, morning time is like my sacred time. I am so productive. That's when I can write. That's when I can really deeply think and just get a lot of stuff done. So I don't check email at that time because it's not worth the attention, the energy that I could put into it. So I schedule my first time to check email at lunch. So during lunch, check some emails. And then so I did it twice a day and then at the end of the day. So after the kiddos took off, then that was a time to get caught up and, send out emails as well. So I think you can get away with scheduling it. I know you can because I've done it. And I know you can too because people that are much more effective than me, this is what they recommend as well. So I didn't invent this system. I stole it from people that produce a lot better work than I do. So twice a day from a half hour to an hour and then knock it out. I think we need solutions to email. So using something like Slack, that's more like instant messaging and being able to have conversations with people that only need to be a part of that conversation. You send out this email blast, it's to everybody. It was easy for the sender. But how often do you, the leader of the organization, really think through who is the intended audience and what do they need to hear and how do I need to craft my message so that it hits home? Often it's, oh man, I need to get this done, send this out real quick and get it off my plate, type away and just send it off. And now I feel good because guess what? And this is terrible reasoning. I'm the boss. I sent it. You should have read it. And it was important because of that. No, it's not. Just because you got a title, you're not important. If you don't know your audience and your people and craft it in a way that hits home, like you are not stewarding the responsibility that's been entrusted to you as the community in terms of how you craft your message. So, those are some of my ideas. Like you could tell I get a little passionate about email.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
You're excited about this one.
yeah, definitely. So schedule it in. I definitely take off the notifications. We already talked about that in terms of on my phone. And I go in when it's scheduled religiously. And that's when I'm effective with email.
I love that. Here's something that I make sure that I still do now that I'm back in the school system. But when I was a building principal, I would do this as well. Is I'd like to honor my teachers' time.
Yes.
Right. And so I know that I had amazing teachers that worked in my building. So I would tease them about being overachievers because if I sent out an email and even if I said, nothing needs to be done right now, they would think about it and they would probably try to do it. And I would do the same if my assistant super send me something. Mm-hmm. And so I started using the delayed send.
Yes.
And Outlook. And so I needed it to get off my plate. So if it was my time, if my time was like, and normally it was once my kids went to bed from 10 to 10:30 or 10 to 11 at night even. And this is the time that I have that's quiet, after being mom and, and getting home from school. That didn't mean I need to send those emails out and blow up my teachers' inboxes. Right. So I would do a delay send. So it would come in the morning when I know most of them are, getting to school or whatever. And then to me, it's a more appropriate time to do that. But I would also share with my parents that, hey, my teachers and myself, we have lives, we have children, we have things going on. So if you send an email out and it's after school hours or later in the afternoon, don't be offended if nobody returns your email or responds because we've already left and now we're putting on our mom hat or our dad hat, or spending time with family, whatever it is that we do. And so just know that when you send it, give us at least 24 hours to respond, especially if it's late in the day or in the evening.
Yeah. I love that, Marlena, because, you're talking about modeling, right? Like what you expect. And you're talking about framing expectations for the community and what they can expect in terms of turnaround time with communication. So that's super important to do as a leader. And if you're not using Outlook, if you are with Google, two tools that you can use, Boomerang schedules out emails as well. And you can have a free account. And they give you so many, that you can send out and delay. But another really powerful tool is called Streak. And Streak is absolutely free, works within Google Chrome, works with Gmail, and you could schedule out as many as you want. Another powerful feature I like is maybe we're having some type of communication, Marlena, and I want to be able to follow up with you because I need a response, but I don't need to send that now. So I can snooze that message for a week, for a month. You can pick the exact date and time, and then it'll pop back into my inbox, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk to her about this. And it helps keep things a little less cluttered. Again, things aren't all, competing for your attention, and you could be a lot more focused, which you need to be as a leader.
I think that's huge. Thank you for sharing that. And I was writing down
For
some of
sure.
those because I haven't heard of those. So thank you for that. Again, if you're
Streak,
watching live,
yeah.
yeah, if you're watching live, type in your questions, type in any comments that you have. If you're watching the replay, then we'll be sure to share at the end how you can get in contact with Daniel so you can ask your questions if you're watching the replay. I know we have some really big conferences going on this week with ITSE and model schools here in Nashville, ITSE in San Antonio. So please be sure to stay tuned, watch the replay if you're watching the recording right now, and hang into the end so you can get Daniel's information. So let's jump right into Masterminds.
Okay, my
Tell
favorite
me.
topic.
Yes. What is it and how do I do it?
Yeah, so the mastermind, the only reason I have any credibility with it and why I can speak about it is because I've been a participant for quite a while, way before I started even facilitating myself. And the reason I brought it to the education industry, but I mean every industry can benefit from it, is I saw such tremendous professional and personal growth, Marlena. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing in my own life. The mastermind I participated in, shout out to Aaron Walker from View from the Top. So that's where he's at, and he coaches men specifically, entrepreneurs, guys looking to just be more impactful in terms of their relationships as a husband, as a father, just even as a friend, as a leader. So I've been with him now for years, and it's been the greatest decision of my life. What got me to say yes, I was absolutely crushed by this quote that is pretty popular by Jim Rohn, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I really sat with that, and I rigorously looked at the relationships in my life, and I thought, what am I getting out of it? What am I giving to it? Is this in alignment with where I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 30 years? And I had some tough choices to make with that. So on some levels, I wanted to upgrade and level up the type of person that I hung out with, so to speak. And so doing the mastermind really helped me with that. The way I describe it with potential clients is that I call it a hybrid group coaching and leadership development community. But now I also like saying that it's really a party, and that, I think I throw great parties and you're invited. So people listen to the podcast, they email, they call, they connect on social media, and they ask advice all the time. And I like helping out. So that's great. But the fact is that, you're going to get so much more if you invest in a weekly meeting with other individuals that are going to push you and sharpen you and have you really think through whatever experience you're going through. So the mastermind, it's a weekly meeting. We meet over Zoom, so it's very much like Google Hangouts or Skype, but Zoom is the platform that I invest in. So we have a check-in time of about 15 minutes or so, and people share wins of the week, and we talk about accountability. So like, here's a note from one of my groups. This is my Tuesday night group. There we go. And people were just saying, hey, one big thing I want to accomplish next week, like Kathy Jo wanted to get out into the community and connect with business leaders. Robert wanted to research a reading curriculum. Colin had to hire a 4th grade teacher, and I could go on and on and on, right? So people, they'll say, this is the one big thing I want to accomplish. We'll check in. There's one thing to think about what you want to accomplish, another thing within community to say it, and then a third thing too, to know that people that love you and care about you are going to ask you about those things on a weekly basis. Imagine how much you're going to get done if you know you're going to face that type of community that's supportive yet challenging, right? So that gets us through about a quarter of it. We do book studies. So I mentioned, right, Procrastinating on Purpose, Essentialism, Deep Work. We've read, I mean, we used to read a book a month. Now it's every 2 months, just to, probably the pace was a little hard, I think, for some people. So we are reading leadership books from outside the education industry to really push our thinking. So I'll have a discussion there. But the secret then, Marlena, is the hot seat. So you have about 10 people, no more than 10 within a group. And the last 30 minutes, maybe, Marlena, it's your turn for the hot seat. And so at this time, you share an obstacle or challenge you're facing, or some, big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins calls it, that you want to accomplish. And you share that within the group. They think about it. They ask you questions. They share their own personal anecdotes. They give feedback. And the beauty about that is it's basically having your own personal board of directors, right? We connect, on social media. We got the Lead Up group, got EduGladiators, all these great areas that definitely feed you and help you develop. But imagine just having like 10 or 9 other just people that you're with every single week that are learning, they're growing with you, they're becoming your friends, and they know who you are. They can call you out on your stuff, which is how I'll say it here, because we're live, y'all. So they'll call you out on your stuff because it stinks too. And they're going to push you to be a better leader. I mean, that's what it's about. So the cool thing is when you're on the hot seat, you get answers to those very difficult questions that you have. And you get feedback and develop a much wider perspective that you just wouldn't have if you didn't engage in this type of community. But the other beauty is if you are a participant and not in the hot seat, there's a lot of value you get from being helpful, helping other people work through their problems, right? It makes you feel good. And it's the right thing to do. Secondly, you get to hear about problems that people are facing that are either going to be reminders, oh, I need to be thinking about that, or maybe it's something, wow, I didn't even know that exists. And now I have a tool in my belt that I could potentially use to solve this issue if I ever experience it within my community. So out of that, has come some really, really powerful times. Everything from crazy stuff, with teachers acting inappropriately with students, right? We've discussed that. We've discussed succession plans. We had a guy, Fran, who's been a principal for over 30 years, and now he's walking away. And how do you hand it off the right way and make sure that the work continues? Kareen, she's amazing in Canada. She has to raise $1.5 million to save the school. And she's already raised $1.25 million, right? So we help just talk about and encourage and support and think about like, how can we get it done? Jason, he moved from AP. They took the principal of his school, said, you're going to be the chief academic officer, which is a very popular position in districts right now. And guess what? You're principal next week. So he's like, what do I do? Right?
Wow.
We talk about that stuff. And it's so neat to help people through those problems and challenges. And I've seen my instructional coaches become APs, my APs become principals. There's 26 clients that I faithfully serve every single week. We have 3 groups. And the neat thing, to take away all the instructional coaches and all the assistant principals and go to the original group when we launched. There were 7 principals. 3 of them this year got the honor of Principal of the Year.
Wow.
So it's super neat. Yeah, I'm not going to take credit myself. It's not me saying, Marlena, this is how you do the job. But what I will take credit for is I think I create an atmosphere. I know this. Like, my greatest strength is connecting people. Mm-hmm. And so I have set up an environment where people connect, they feel safe, they take off their mask, they really share with what they're struggling, with. So this isn't going to connect for everyone. This is for somebody who wants to for real develop, and they want to be authentic. And I think people crave authenticity. But when you get that type of support, great things happen. I mean, that's my whole idea. Get great people together, great things are going to be produced.
So it almost sounds like a deeper level than a Twitter chat, because I
Yes.
love my Twitter chats. I mean, that's what got me started into this whole realm. But a deeper level than Twitter, even deeper level than Boxer, because you do have that video component, that live interaction at that set time every week. So it just sounds like you're really deepening your relationships and pushing each other in a very authentic way.
It's deep, and that's why, you limit it at 10. So any more than that, you're not going to have enough space to share the mic, so to speak, right? And that's a value because everybody wants, people are investing in the mastermind because they want to hear what Marlena has to say and everybody else. They have a perspective that's not their own, and it adds so much value to the group. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I talked about how people crave authenticity. They crave connection too. And I think the depth as well. Twitter chats, Voxer, all that stuff is great, and people should engage in it. It builds your professional learning network for sure. But there's only so much you can do, even with the same amount of time, right, for an hour in 140 characters or Voxer. So here, it's the same people. I mean, this is your tribe. You're going through life together. We're going to have annual meetups and all this kind of stuff. I mean, these people become your closest friends too, and they, like I said, they know you, so they can call you out on stuff as well, and they help you become better. It's just, that's what it is. It's all about authenticity and all about growth.
How do you choose the book studies, the books for the book studies that you do as a mastermind group? You mentioned you do some leadership books. They're not all education based. How do you choose that?
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, right? Like, so I'm a mastermind participant as well as a facilitator. And so if we read a book that I'm reading in the other mastermind, I'm like, wow, this just rocked my world, or it rung my leadership bell, I know that I need to bring it to my community. Other than that, since I do the weekly podcast, people all the time are dropping incredible books that I need to check out. And so it's either things that I've either read and I know I want to bring it to the community, or it's something that I'm interested in and I think it would benefit everybody. Plus, thing with the masterminds, I tell the clients all the time, like, this is for you, right? So like this chat we're having right now is for the viewers. So if people want us to answer questions, we're going to go there. So we talk about all the time, how can we improve? Or in this case, is there a book that people are dying to read? And then, we can change course and do that.
Well, speaking of people leaving questions, we do have one for us tonight.
Yes.
So it is, okay, the question reads, hey, Daniel, what was the biggest lesson that you have learned from your Better Leaders, Better Schools podcast?
The biggest lesson? Who asked that question?
Sean, one of our core warriors. He's joined in and he's asked that question.
Sean, thank you so much for the question. I think the biggest takeaway, there's a few, so I'll give you a few. But number one is that it's all about relationships, right? And so you got to figure out, like, how are you going to build relationships within the community, with students, with the staff, with parents and community members. I think it's important to not take yourself so seriously as well. The work's important, but you don't have to take yourself so seriously because how you might carry yourself, excuse me, could rub people the wrong way. And, I'll get super focused on stuff, and it's like you walk around with a scowl on your face, but, you probably are somewhat peaceful or happy inside. You're just really focused and maybe a little bit stressed. So I think it's really important to have the proper perspective, not take yourself so seriously as well. So relationships, and not taking yourself so seriously. And right now I'm reading Ego is the Enemy, and we're reading that in July and August by Ryan Holiday with the Mastermind. And the key part there is, like, when you have in the context of schools, right, student success, attendance is going up, all this great stuff. Discipline data is improving, all that. You start, tooting your own horn, right? And if you're not careful, you might think it's because of you, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it could, you're the one leading the vision. You got everybody all fired up about it. You're working tirelessly, giving your blood, sweat, and tears. Like, you're awesome. And if you start believing your own hype, you become insulated. You form this bubble. Your head gets so big you can't see anymore, and your perspective gets off. So part of it too is it's not about you. So not only don't take yourself too seriously, but don't put yourself in the center of everything as well. So keep that healthy perspective, and don't become a roadblock, obstacles, that kind of stuff to the progress of your community, because they might be all gung-ho and fired up about the direction you're headed. But if you need to touch everything and sign off on everything and put your stamp of approval, well, that just slows everything down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of those are the big takeaways for sure.
Okay, so one of the leadership books that I'm reading that
Yes.
you are welcome to use in your masterminds if you want to. I'll keep the title of this PG. But anyway, a friend of mine told me about this, and I was like, "What? That's crazy." I downloaded it.
I think I know what you're gonna say, but I
Yeah.
want you to say it.
Well, I downloaded it, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try it," because my friend, I just trust her judgment. Former English teacher, she's like, "Marlena, like, you're gonna like it, and it's not what you think, but you're gonna love the title because you're a cusser, so you love the title." I know that's my bias. Anyway, that's
good.
another podcast. It's called The Subtle Art of Not
Giving
A
up. Gotcha.
by Mark Manson. And let me tell you, like, she was exactly right. My friend Erica was exactly right, because the book is about kind of what you're saying, like,
Sure.
what we were talking about earlier, as you only have so much time, you only have so much space to do the work and still balance your family. And that's really important to me, to have that work-life balance. And I think it's important to a lot of people, definitely in my generation and our generation. And so this book really talks about you only have so many to give. And so you have to be careful and be thoughtful of what you give your attention to. And it's a deep, deep book. So I don't know if you've used it for your mastermind. Those of you that are listening, this is definitely one that you have to check out. It's really, really great. I follow Mark Manson since a couple of weeks ago when I got the book on Twitter, and gosh, it cracks me up, but I love it. And it's right. It helps me keep the main thing the main thing.
That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I've been, it's in my wish list, so I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to be reading that sometime very soon.
Yeah, you definitely want to read that. So tell me this: does your mastermind system, does it apply only to educators or in education world, or do you have people in your group that have found value in this that are not educators?
So, I've been very focused and niched down in terms of the podcast and doing school leaders, right? So everybody within my masterminds currently are within the education industry, but the one I participate in, that's for everybody, right? And at some point too, I'm considering, should I open this up with my media company and do it for podcasters, or other small business owners and entrepreneurs? I might do that at some point as well. This will work anywhere. A lot of times education's kind of last to the party, right? And they're like, oh, there's this cool new way of absolutely, getting great personal and professional development, or here's this technology we should use, and okay, well, let's check that out 10 years later. So I think education is just, last to the party. And like I said, I participated in it, and I saw the growth and development I was having, and I looked at schools and I was thinking, where is it for us? So I just decided to pick myself and say, hey, we're going to do this. Would you like to join? And people did. We started off with 7, grew to 13. I shut it down because I was a principal at the beginning of the school year, and I wanted to have my priorities straight. But then towards the spring, I knew I was transitioning, and I just did a very limited, hey, would anybody else like to join? And we doubled in size to 26. And then I'm like, well, now we're up to 3 groups. I still need to finish the year strong, so I shut it down again. So currently there's a wait list, but I know I'm opening them up back in July. We're gonna open them back up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I have to ask this as we come to our time, and it's been great. Like I am
Sure,
like,
sure.
if you see me looking down, like jotting down things
You
that you're
jot down
talking
notes?
about right now,
That's
jotting
great.
down books. I'm pulling them up so I can make sure I have them on my very busy phone.
Yes, yes, sure, sure, sure.
um, but how can well, tell me this first. Here's the last question: is who is your favorite superhero, Daniel? And
Yes.
why? And how is that superhero? How's that favorite superhero influence you to be who you
Yeah.
are now?
So it's funny you mentioned that because before recording, I wish I could like leave and grab it. But I have this old T-shirt that I showed Miriam, and we're moving to Belgium, so we're like totally downsizing and getting rid of stuff. It costs Marlene. It costs $10,000 to get like a crate and ship all your stuff. So we're just doing luggage, and it's like the basics, and we're gonna buy everything new or used over there. So long story short, I showed her this T-shirt that said Fat Dutchie's Comic Book Shop. My first job ever was at a comic book store, and I would count inventory. And Chuck, the owner, he would give me lunch, he would give me some great comics and $20 every week that I did this. So I am an expert in this question, and the expert answer for me, that's 100% correct, would be Spider-Man. I love
Really?
absolutely. I love Spider-Man because I wasn't like the biggest kid, right, growing up. I had friends. I definitely wasn't like an outsider or
Okay.
couldn't connect, that kind of thing. But my parents went through divorce, and so you have some questions. A lot of kids think, did I cause it, and that kind of stuff, and they battle with that. And I think I was a little bit just like sad and kind of disconnected, and I got better, through so much introspection and emotional work and therapy and that kind of stuff. But I picked Spider-Man because he's this weird kid that's kind of on the outskirts. He gets bit by this radioactive spider, and he's turned into a superhero. And he's got the beautiful girl. So I'm like, yes, that's what I want. And he fights crime, but he does it in a very unique and creative and funny way, right? Because he's always dropping one-liners and messing with the guys as he's beating them up. But you never would suspect that he's such a superhero because he looks so ordinary, right?
Right.
So I absolutely love Spider-Man.
That's
Hands.
awesome. That's awesome. So you're going to watch the new movie that's coming out, right? I think it's
I'll,
July 7th, I believe I saw.
I'll watch them all. I should probably get a Spider-Man tattoo at some point,
Oh my
So
gosh. That's hilarious. Hey,
yeah,
if folks want to get in contact with you, if they want to learn more about Masterminds, or if they're
sure,
watching the
sure.
replay, and of course they wouldn't have the opportunity to ask their questions live, how can they get in touch with you, especially if you're moving to Belgium?
Yeah, well, the great thing about, what we do is that I just need a computer and an internet connection, and everything that we're talking about, the podcast will still be there. I'll still be coaching folks through the masterminds and doing a whole bunch of other stuff it's all online. So betterleadersbetterschools.com is absolutely the easiest way. There you can get the blog, the resources that are there for free. You can join the mailing list. Over 1,000 school leaders are there, and they get the newsletter. So that's either updates to the blog and the podcast. You get different offers potentially to work with me. And the most popular email I send is every Sunday. And it's the weekend resources, just 5 bullet points that are things that I'm working with or quotes I'm pondering, resources I found valuable, and just saying, hey, here's some cool stuff, check it out. So betterleadersbetterschools.com is the easiest. You could text me 312-788-7595. Everywhere, absolutely everywhere on social media. My handle is Alien Earbud. That's Daniel Bauer. It's an anagram. I'm an English teacher, so I use a word game, right? There's got to be a reason. You mix up all the letters, and what was a crazy word that Daniel Bauer spells? Alien Earbud. So
I
that's why
love it.
that's why it's my handle. For the US viewers, if you text unlock now, all one word, unlock now, to 33444, you could get 15 questions. It's a PDF I created. 15 questions guaranteed to unlock your leadership potential. If you're international, that doesn't work, but just go to the website and there's like a ton of stuff that you can download for free. We could start a conversation and maybe we can even work together within the mastermind.
Oh, that's awesome, Daniel. Again, thank you so much for coming on to EduGladiators and just being such a friend of this entire movement and an inspiration to me personally, and getting so many things started and going with this. I just really, really, really appreciate your insight and honored to have you on our podcast tonight.
It's been an absolute honor, is all mine. It's been such a privilege, and thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you, Daniel. And again, for those of you that are just tuning in or watching the replay, just a reminder that this Saturday, we are celebrating the 4th of July weekend. So no chat this Saturday, but we will be back the following Saturday, July 8th, with Class Tech Tips with Monica Burns, author Monica Burns. And she just released her latest book, Formative Tech. We've had her here on our podcast, and she led a chat for us as well. But she's going to be sharing about the best tech tips. So especially if you were not at ITSE, or if you're not at ITSE right now, you definitely want to tune in. And even if you were, I promise you, you'll learn even more, because she has a great book about that. And we're honored to have her lead our conversation for EduGladiators. Again, Daniel, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
And everyone, you enjoyed the rest of your evening, and be sure to tag EduGladiators if you're at Model Schools or ITSE 17 or any other amazing conference. If you have things to share, be sure to tag us and we will be sure to retweet that as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.